Well, I'm gonna be going down the side of the road because we just lost our camera somewhere and we think it was here at this train stop or train thing. So I'm gonna check and see if I can find it. So far, no luck. This grass is super tall, so if it fell in here and even came down the hill at all, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find it. It really sucks because I literally just put a whole new mount, or I guess like plaque, magnetic plaque on the Airstream before this trip. Apparently that adhesive was no good. And that's not a catastrophic loss, but that is not cheap either.
What?
Do you forgive me?
Yeah, I mean, how would it be your fault?
I
You
don't know.
know where it fell off. Even if it fell off like on the highway, you can't stop. I don't know. It's disappointing, but it's cool.
Well, since we lost our backup camera off the RV, we got to do a replacement. And instead of going with the magnetic route that has obviously the risk of falling off, although it wasn't the magnet that fell off, it was the adhesive of the panel on the back of the RV, and I just installed it, which is a big bummer, but we had to do a replacement and go in a different route. So we still have the Halo View monitor that goes in the tow vehicle. So we decided to get this one. I'm going to drill this up into the back of the RV and use one of the lights that are up there and see how that goes. Hopefully it doesn't go anywhere. It's actually drilled in using the power of the of kind of what's already on board, so we don't have to worry about charging it or anything like that either. I'm in the garage because it is windy out there, so I'm going to do my best to record and kind of show you what I'm doing, but I'll probably have to do some voiceover to kind of talk through everything because it's too windy for me to for the audio to get picked up in a clean way. So let's get to work. So you might be wondering why we went with a magnetic one in the first place. Because when we were getting our Airstream 4 years ago, the last 3 seasons, when we were getting everything set up, we were really nervous to like drill into the aluminum. And so this was a way to have something that could still see behind us when we were driving down the road, as well as backing into a campsite, but wasn't permanent. And it kind of proved to not be permanent by falling off. So this time around, we wanted something that was going to be a little bit different, more permanent. I feel a little bit more comfortable now that we've kind of settled into the Airstream, that drilling some holes, having a permanent solution was the better option, which is why we went in a different route. As I was getting started, I had an idea of what I wanted to do here and how it was going to go, but a lot of this is figuring it out as you go. I didn't know exactly what the wires are going to look like behind there, but we had to start by getting that light off so that we could see that. And as I did, the cables were really permanently into that light, so I had to cut those off and start stripping the wires back so they could become usable. That took a little bit of finagling and kind of realizing what I needed to do, assessing the situation, and finally making the decision, okay, I'm gonna commit, I'm gonna cut the light off, I'm gonna strip these wires back and really get those to be in a usable spot. There we go. And then from there, it was really about getting everything set back up and wiring in those new cables from the camera that comes with it. In the kit, there's a whole wiring kit that you can kind of plug and play a little bit, but you do need to wire in the main wires to the power of the Airstream. And one thing, this is where I probably made my first mistake, is instead of getting everything wired up and then testing it, I decided to keep going forward. So I got things wired and then I started to line up the bracket and get everything set up in a way that, okay, this is where I want it, knowing where my holes are going to be so that I could start actually drilling the holes for the actual hardware to get the camera to stay there permanently. And I can't tell you how much stress or anxiety or kind of butterflies I was feeling as I was getting ready to drill in. I have not done this before. This was the first time I was drilling holes in our Airstream. And after you spend all of that money on an Airstream and you've been making memories in it, you really don't want to mess it up. And so drilling holes in it wasn't something I was looking forward to, but knew it had to be done in this case. But after doing that, I was able to put the whole thing together and it looked great, and that meant I was ready for testing. But during testing, this is where I realized I had made a mistake and should have tested before drilling everything in, before getting it all screwed in, because my wires were backwards. Which meant taking the entire camera off of the Airstream, pulling everything back out that I had kind of pushed back in, redoing the wires the other direction, and then this is where I smartened up a little bit. And instead of putting everything back and testing again, I decided to leave it out and test it there. I did it, y'all. I've been troubleshooting some of the wiring. I had to take it all off. I had the wires backwards, which is very confusing because the black doesn't go with the black. You have to mix and match to get it to work correctly, but if I do that, say hello. Let's run over here. It's now working. So now I gotta clean it all up, kind of put it all back, make it look nice. I think we'll be good to go. One last test. Now I got everything kind of cleaned up and put back together. So, all right. Lovely. So obviously I mount that when we're on a trip, but that is wonderful. We wanted to take a minute and say that this whole series, Roll Into 25, is brought to you by you. We do not have any sponsors for this series, but we are supported by you. And there's two main ways that you can do that. One is by subscribing. That doesn't seem like a lot, that's free to you, but it does help us out. The second is by using the links in the description to make some purchases. If you are looking to get started in RVing and are looking for those essentials, or you want to maybe pick up some of the fun items that we have around the RV, around camping and hiking, there are links in the description that don't cost you anything extra, but allow us to get a little bit of financial support on the back end. So there are links to Amazon as well as other retailers like Rocky Talkie, and these are all items that we recommend. They're items that we still use, and the things that we say, you should purchase these, we're gonna stand by these as long as we continue to use them. So just want to say thank you for your continued support of this series, and that is how you can support us as we bring this type of content to you. Now let's get back to it. Now a couple things to note is that the angle of the camera was really a challenge in this initial scenario because the antenna was sticking up to get that to go straight up and have the strongest connection back to the monitor. It was in the way of being able to tilt the camera up to get the right angle. It was really pointed down because it was hitting up against the gutter ring of the Airstream. And so we did have to get some brackets or spacers, I guess, and put those in between the bracket of the camera and the Airstream itself. So those spacers are there pushing it out a little bit so that antenna could have the space it needed, as well as giving space for the gutter on the Airstream. Now, so far it has been amazing having this over the magnetic one because we're not having to worry about it being there. It's just there all of the time. It always has power. You just kick on those running lights in the tow vehicle, it kicks on the power to the camera, we're good to go. And you still get the same field of view. You get the same view behind you while you're driving down the highway, as well as backing into a site. So now that we've gotten this fixed and all cleaned up, we are ready to go again towards our goal of hitting 25 states by the end of the season. So make sure and hit subscribe to find out where in the world Carmen goes next.